Hi there, welcome to Sports Center. I'm Scott Van Pelt. I am not tired yet. We will save the mass choir until the top of the hour. Amazingly, tonight begins our 5th season of doing this show this way, and we thank you all for being out there. Notre Dame takes care of its business, thanks in large part to quarterback Ian Book. Stick around to hear from him. We put a bow on week 1 of the college football season, some bad beats. We'll have interviews from Auburn quarterback Bo Nix, Texas head coach Tom Herman, Astros ace Justin Verlander. But we'll start the show as we've begun every show since we started. The best thing I saw today. This is a life-changing moment. This is Doug Gimme's on the 18th hole. And if he makes this putt for par, he gets his PGA Tour card. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Bang. Absolutely buries it.
Courageous.
Think about the nerves. You think about what does it mean. You think about the grind, man. There are so many good players out in the Korn Ferry Tour, which has had about 1 million different names, but it's AAA golf, if you want to put it that way. It's a grind, and that putt means I go to the PGA Tour. The emotion, understandable. He's one of 25 to earn a card, none more dramatically than that way right there. All right, full highlights coming in just a bit of the Irish and the Cardinals. Salute to Louisville. They flat out quit at times last year, all right? I mean, you hate to say that about kids, but that's what happened. They battled tonight. They showed fight under new head coach Scott Satterfield. Notre Dame off a trip to the playoff, expected to win comfortably, and did, although not by enough for some of you. Ian Book's night in the spotlight, their talented quarterback. Very first drive of the game and the very first play of the night, that is a wide open hole for number 12 to matriculate the ball downfield, as they say. 37 yards into the red zone. And Louisville fans had to be thinking, well, we're 2 minutes in and change, and it looks a whole lot like last year. Then it didn't. Again, we'll get to the full highlight coming up a little bit later, but we're focusing here on Book after the Jameer Smith touchdown there early. Uh-oh. He grasses it. I know it's field turf, but he grasses it here. Again, that's that Cardinal defense. They had some short stops, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and they got stopped. Got a 4th down stop as well. Louisville would take over, but it would be a very short possession. This was right before the end of the first half. We had back-to-back-to-back fumbles as Juwan Pass can't hold on to it, and that gave Notre Dame an opportunity to head into the half leading. And there goes Book again. Second big scramble for him, the first to start the game. This one gives him the lead at the half. Brian Kelly, he knows his quarterback.
It's the first game, he's got the weight of the world on him, and just you got to relax and got to go play, and he will. He'll come back and play better in the second half.
And what do you know, he did. Second half, Chase Claypool, this is a name to remember.
He could cover some ground here.
Yeah, he can, and he does. Big receiver. Looks a little bit like a Mike Evans, just in terms of his just physical makeup. And, it's a pretty nice comparison. Wide receiver 1, pick him up, Steve.
Look who's open.
Who is it?
Tight end.
Always open. Tommy Tremble,
Always.
touchdown. Notre Dame would go on to win this one in the end by 18. Book settles in. Afterwards, thoughts from the head coach and that quarterback. He said would play better, and he did.
All right, Coach, you said during the offseason your team didn't cut any corners, so you expected them to play well. What did you see from them tonight?
I thought bits and pieces of the game, they played well. A bit of an opener, in a sense. Some sloppy tackling here and there. I thought offensively we ran the ball, showed some spurts. I thought some of the players, I really was happy some of the younger players really stepped up today. We saw some nice performances. But again, we've got a week off. We're going to have to work on a few things and be a better football team. But it's a tough game. Louisville came in, played very well. It was an emotional game for them. But again, we're pleased to get the win.
Got your quarterback moving in over here. What did you see from him between the first and the second quarter?
I thought he settled down in the second half. I think, he carries the weight of the world on him too much, and he tries to do a little bit too much. I think he settled down in the second half, led our football team the way he's capable of lead them, and got some touchdown passes in the second half. I think it settled him down nicely and played much better in the second half.
All right, thanks for your time, Coach. And Ian, you just heard what Coach had to say about your play. What's your reaction to hearing his response?
Yeah, obviously it didn't start the way we wanted to, but really proud of this team. Louisville, a great football team. We respect them, and I'm glad that we were able to, put that first half behind us, come back in the second half, and score some more points, and at the end of the day, be 1-0. That's what we wanted.
Coach said that you're one of the guys who's come back as a starter for the first time for him in a long time. So the leadership role you've been taking on is a lot on your shoulders. How have you responded to it, especially in this game?
Yeah, I want to be a leader on this team, and I want to lead these guys, week by week and keep winning games. And I feel honored to, be able to be a leader on this team. And we have so many other leaders, which is the great part of this team. And I'm really excited for this year. And like I said, just happy to be 1-0.
All right, thanks, Ian.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so with the victory from Notre Dame, ranked teams opened the season 24-1. The only loss, you might have heard Chris Fowler mention this, was a ranked versus ranked matchup, Oregon and Auburn. This is the best that anyone could have done, given, as we mentioned, that the two ranked teams played another. It's also the most wins by ranked teams in any week in the history of the poll. And this wraps up a very busy Labor Day week for my man Kirk Herbstreit. Herbie, good to visit with you. And I've got a bunch I want to get to from week one. I do want to ask one quick one on tonight. Stanford Steve made a point as we watched tonight's game, and I agree with him. Notre Dame's in a tough spot. I know that might sound crazy, but this Louisville team was lousy last year. Notre Dame heard all offseason how bad they were, and they saw a very focused, emotional, and I give credit to Louisville team tonight, but ultimately they do what they're supposed to do and they win. What do you take away from the Irish tonight?
And, Scott, just to add to that, this is a Louisville team that not only fired their coach, their last 5 games, they gave up over 50 points in all 5 of those games.
They quit.
And so people people thought, oh, this is a laughable game. In fact, Chris even brought that up to Brian Kelly and said, is this a game where you have to play perfect and blow them out? And Brian Kelly was like, we just want to try to be professional and execute. And next thing you know, it's 14-14, and Puma Pass is throwing the ball and running the ball, and it's like, whoa. What's going on here? And if they didn't fumble at the end of the first half, it's halftime. It's tied up at 14. But I'm with you. And no matter what sport it is, when you're supposed to win and dominate, puts you in a really tough spot to try to live up to those expectations. And I think Brian Kelly just said that in the post-game interview. I think our quarterback was trying to live up to being Ian Book. In the second half, he kind of settled down and kind of let the game come to him.
All right, I got a bunch of topics from this opening week that I want to get your thoughts on here. Let's start with Jalen Hurts and this Lincoln Riley offense. By the way, one big thing on Lincoln Riley coming up later tonight. What do you make of a pretty jaw-dropping performance?
I think you and I could play quarterback in that offense and be okay.
My foot speed's limited, Herbie. Foot speed and declining athleticism have set in.
I mean, it is amazing when you put a freaky athlete like these last 3 quarterbacks in that system where Lincoln Riley is just a step ahead of the defense. He's got so many unique ways of attacking. He puts his quarterback in a position where I talked to him this week, and he says, I don't want my quarterback to be a robot. I want to turn him loose, get comfortable with the scheme, let him make decisions, and not worry about making mistakes. And you could tell that he's like a corner man that's worked with Jalen Hurts and gotten him in a position to go out. I think the big thing that I took away from this is, we're still going to see the RPOs. You're going to still see him throwing the ball around. He still has weapons. But when he runs the ball like he did at Alabama, it's a different way of running than what Kyler Murray did or Baker Mayfield did. He's running with purpose. He's running downhill. And as a defense, that puts a lot of pressure on you to have to be able to withstand that and deal with all the other stuff that Lincoln Riley can do in the passing game.
I get that Coach Taggart down in Tallahassee's got a lot to try to figure out and fix with Florida State, okay? But the way Boise State comes back, you're supposed to play in Jacksonville at night. They play at noon in Tallahassee. They ran over 100 plays, and they were dominant, was Boise, in that second 30 minutes. What did they say to you as a team that's got a path to being talked about late in this year, the way they won down there against Florida State?
I'll say this beforehand. I love Boise State's program. I loved it when Chris Peterson was there. I love it now with Brian Harsin. They, to me, are the antithesis of what you see in big-time Power 5 football. They recruit 1- and 2-star kids. They redshirt them. They develop them, and they get them into a position where they can go out and win football games together old school. They had a true freshman quarterback, Hank Bachmeier. He's on the road, down big, 21-3. You mentioned the heat, the humidity, how these poor Broncos going to deal with it. They just kind of kept fighting, and they wind up winning the game. They're going to be favored in every game that they play.
Yep.
I'm not saying that they're going to go undefeated, but they're going to be heavily favored. It's going to need somebody that's going to have to trip them up. But there's a lot to like about that Boise State team, especially that freshman quarterback, man. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. Kid just looks like a winner to me.
Yeah, they kept fighting. Fight on is the war cry out there in Los Angeles. And Coach Helton started the year, look, with shaky ground beneath him. And then JT Daniels gets hurt. He's done for the year. Their next 5 games are brutal. What's your sense of how they can kind of weather the storm that feels inevitable in Los Angeles?
I mean, imagine your own part of your own fan base is cheering against you because they want a potential change with the head coach. And now you lose your guy. You lose JT Daniels, who last year was a freshman, made some mistakes, but showed enough to get you excited about where he could be this year with all of his receivers returning, and then to lose him in the opening week. And now you go to another freshman. They played with a true freshman last year, and now you got to play with another true freshman. So I don't know if you have it up, but their next 5 games, I don't care who they had at quarterback.
We do.
It was going to be a grind. You know, it's going to be tough for them to be able to get through that. And with all the pressure on Lynn Swann and Clay Helton, who's one of the good guys in the business, you wonder where they're going to be standing by the time they get to week 6 and if they have even a chance to be having a winning record at that point.
I'm with you. Let me close with this. Listen, the SEC's depth certainly could be questioned after week 1. SEC East had a rough go, but the top of it is still plenty rugged, and LSU is one of those top 5 teams. They go to Austin. Game day's going. Coach Herman's coming on the show a little bit later from Texas. Your first thought about what that game represents in terms of a monstrous early season showdown?
Well, it is one of those big games where the whole nation's going to be watching. It's a big stage for 2 teams that are trying to win Power 5 conferences. Texas thinks that they're ready to take on Oklahoma. LSU thinks that they have a new offense with Joe Burrow, with the new scheme with Joe Brady, their RPO game, and they feel that they can go out and take on Alabama and A&M and Auburn and everybody else. So before they get to conference play, somebody's going to walk out of Austin Saturday night with a big-time push and a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence coming out of there, because this would be one of those wins when you get into November and you get into December and everybody's debating who should be in and who should be out. This would be one that no matter what happens, if you're out there with 1 loss, this would be one you'd love to have up on your mantle to be able to say, hey, we beat Texas in Austin with Joe Burrow, or Texas at home, hey, we took on LSU, the big bad SEC, and we took care of business. Somebody's going to be able to walk out of there with one of those wins that they'll hold on to for the next 10, 11, 12 weeks.
See, the problem for you right now after this very busy week is your boy Van Pelt's just got open road. Maybe I can keep talking to you till 1 in the morning about this first week. No. You got wheels up back home, I'm sure. So let me say so long. I look forward to talking to you throughout this college football season. It's great to visit as always, my man.
You got it, man. Take care. Next time we'll just keep going.